Hey everyone, it's Reimmerse. Welcome back for month 21. That is a big number. I hope everyone had a very good new year. And I'm going to let you know how January went for me. So I do actually feel pretty good. There have been times when I felt like more optimistic, less optimistic, but I actually do feel really good right now. Now, I still obviously have a lot of room left to grow, but it definitely feels like the end. And by end, I mean like having like really good comprehension, like enough to start speaking, is definitely insight. I will say, like, I don't hear my immersion numbers for this month. We can look at them in a bit more detail in a bit, but I think that I would really like for the active average to really be above an hour. It's really not quite there, but I think that I definitely feel the progress being made, and I definitely feel like, when I'm watching shows now, it feels like good, and I'm making progress, and I'm at like a decently high enough level, and that within like 4 months, which I think is the timeline we're aiming for here, that I can be ready to start outputting. So this break here was MLK weekend, where I was on a trip. And it was like a road trip. We were doing stuff the whole time, so I don't actually see that as really too bad. Kind of missing out there. The rest of the days again look pretty good. I think I could probably squeeze in some more passive. Definitely want to be aiming for an hour of active, but overall I think this was a good month. I don't think like I would. I think that I would really like to see me doing a bit more for these next 3 to 4 months leading up to output. But I think that we're on a good path. The other data I have here for active immersion looks about half of it's free flow, a quarter is intensive, and a quarter is just kind of active. Like, sometimes it's hard because like free flow is like you're not really looking up anything. Intensive is like you're looking up every word you don't know. And then I kind of leave this just active thing for kind of in the middle. In terms of sources, obviously passive immersion, mostly from the podcast. Active this month, it's a bit more diverse. I played this one like game where all the voice, like the voicing and the dialogue was in Korean. That was interesting. I don't know why these are actually. Did I misspell Netflix? Oh, I think I did. Hey, it's okay. I did some more reading this month, so I this is kind of a larger thing. Like, I had kind of like tried to delete social media. It ultimately didn't end up working, basically because it's just like kind of too vital for like receiving information about clubs and stuff and messaging people. But basically I was like, I'm not really using social media for all that much, and I was trying to, and I mean, I did delete TikTok, which I do think has been valuable, but the thing that I think will be the most valuable, which I don't think I've yet achieved, is trying to replace certain habits. Here, let me put on this video for you guys so you're not bored while I just kind of ramble. I basically was trying to replace doom scrolling with things that are actually valuable, and for me, that's really just like studying Korean. And so what I did was I kind of deleted all the social media apps off my homepage and put instead the Books app and the like Naver like Webtoons app. And I didn't end up really reading any Webtoons. The books I like kind of read. Like, I read through All Fiancé 1 again, which again, this was something I was working on over a year ago. But I will say that even though like I could technically read that a year ago, I definitely like I'm like going through it much better now. I have a much like more intuitive understanding of what I'm reading now. It feels much more confident. But I don't think I succeeded in kind of making that like a habit. Like, I think that'd be really good if like every time I pull up my phone, instead of kind of like doomlessly looking or like endlessly kind of looking through Instagram stories or scrolling on Twitter for like the fourth time, just make it the habit that I just open the Books app and I just read a page of the short story, right? But let's see what else. I think that's all for here. So the other things that came up this month. So one was the drama I watched this month. It's not really a drama. It's kind of a reality show. It's called 19 to 20. And I'm just about to finish this one. And I really enjoyed this one, really. I think that here, I'll put the video back. I felt like aligned with the domain of language that I knew. Like this was the first drama where, here, let me pull this up. Guide, detailed. That's not what I want. I'm sorry. Here. Okay, when you have level 5 comprehension of slice of life TV shows, and just to kind of make sure we're all on the same page, level 5 comprehension is comfortable. So you understand close to everything, some nuances lost. Okay. So I definitely felt like for the first time watching 19 to 20 this month that like I was close to that. So there were still, words I didn't know, but it felt like for the first time that like the majority of the words were words I knew. And like I was just like kind of like really like taking it in. And there was like very little like thought about like the language itself and more just about like understanding it. And just kind of like taking it in. And that felt really cool. And so, yeah, I think it felt really good that like that kind of like, again, the domain really lined up with like the words I know. And that felt pretty good. Next, I'm going to watch the new version of Singles Inferno, which I hope will be quite similar. Again, very similar topics, kind of like casual conversation, romance kind of stuff. And let's see. One of my Korean friends, they kind of felt that, what did I watch Business Proposal this month? I also watched Business Proposal. I'm not sure if that was this month or last month, but that one was fine as well. Basically, my friend felt that the language used in dramas, and again, like 19 to 20 is kind of an unscripted reality show. I guess like dramas are more scripted. But Matt versus Japan, why you shouldn't learn from anime. Okay, he has like 2 videos, or I think it's this one. But basically, he talks about how like a lot of people learn Japanese from anime, and a lot of people say you shouldn't because the language like isn't natural. And that is definitely true. I mean, I think it's like always like there are lots of forms of language, right? Writing, scripted shows, reality shows, kind of like YouTube videos. And of course, anything that's not like actual conversation is not going to be like true to actual conversation. But it's also like basically Matt's conclusion, and I do believe him, is that it's still valuable in the sense that like if that's the kind of content you're like motivated to watch, then like any kind of language will be valuable. And also that like the kind of deeper fundamental understanding of the language is what matters, and this kind of like superficial like ways of saying things or like subtle accent stuff can very easily be fixed, where like the fundamental deeper understanding of the language is the much harder to acquire thing, which you'll get anyway. So he talks about how like if you learn Japanese from anime, like you'll start off kind of talking like an anime character, but like pretty quickly you kind of figure that out. And he also talks about how like there's certain like tropes, right? Like stereotypes where like you'll be like, dude, like people in that show, they just like talk like cartoon characters. But also like it's kind of valuable to like know what like the standard like caricatures or like archetypes are in a language, right? Like watching Business Proposal, like it's very interesting seeing how like the old man talks, right? Like I didn't know how like old like kind of cranky grandpa or like rich guy grandpa talked before, and they have like this like all these kind of ways of saying things and ways of like talking to kind of down to people or talking about things that are very interesting. And that stuff I think is valuable. I started watching a bit more of the Go Billy Korean videos, which are excellent, by the way. Most of the ones I'm watching are these kind of FAQ videos and these live class abridged videos. And these live class abridged videos are excellent, absolutely excellent. And they're just really, really concise, really, really well explained and condensed kind of grammar lessons. And they're all like very focused on one topic, and they're very good. Kind of watching these, there'd be a lot of stuff. And like, this is one of the interesting things with like the immersion approach where, Refold and Matt, they talk about how like, language is not like math, right? Like you can't just like study the rules and have it make sense. And so it's kind of interesting when you like do all this immersion, which is kind of like the opposite of studying the rules, right? You just kind of like soak it in, and those rules kind of like, you like understand them, but like not through the rule. You're just kind of like, it's just like, oh, like I guess it does kind of always work that way. I didn't really think of it that way. And so It's very interesting, and everyone likes rules because they like feel really good, and so it's kind of interesting to like see something where I'm like, oh, like I never noticed that, and then it's like, oh, like this is extremely structured and has this pattern. It's also very interesting to see like these like patterns that you've like never seen before, which Refold will talk about how if there's like words that never come up in your immersion, or things that never come up in your immersion, then like the fact that it never came up in your immersion means that like it's probably not that important, right? Like if there was a grammar structure that like actually mattered, you probably would have seen it already. It doesn't mean that like you can't like keep studying and trying to keep better, like of course, but in the sense of like trying to maximize comprehension, then that stuff can kind of come for a later point. But I do think these are quite good. The other thing I looked at was this like talk to me in Korean common mistakes video. A lot of these were quite interesting, and I'd never kind of like looked at or particularly thought about before. Again, this is kind of in a similar vein, like kind of deceiving, because you like feel like you're learning a lot when you like watch these grammar videos. You're like, oh my God, like that makes so much sense, because like the rules are really tangible and they're easy to memorize. But as Matt says in, let's see, this video is excellent. The theory versus practice, Matt versus Japan. Yeah, this video is excellent. It's kind of like an illusion, right? Like watching this video and you're like, oh, like, or this video and you're like, oh my God, like all these rules, like now my Korean's so much better. But like, yeah, it's kind of an illusion, and the immersion is really kind of what does stuff anyway. Okay, next. This month I was kind of sick of watching like K-pop variety / normie videos, which is kind of fair. These kind of like, you can only watch like so many fucking romance web dramas, K-pop shit. I mean, I guess again, it like aligns with the domain, but I definitely want to, as my Korean starts getting better, and my understanding comprehension gets higher, like kind of watching more like interesting content, like the kind of content I watch in English, right? Where I'm like watching about topics that I actually like enjoy, or like content I find actually entertaining, not just for like the language part of it. Something I'm also continuously looking at is trying to choose like a good parent. So that's coming up in like, again, 3 to 4 months. And so I'm really looking for a like male content creator, probably a streamer who has a lot of content that I can listen to and I find entertaining and understandable and has a good accent. Something else I also kind of looked at, I like started watching this, I didn't really get too into it, would be like watching travel vlogs. So when I go to Korea, like I think it'd be cool if I kind of already knew, some kind of like neighborhoods or like train routes, because I've watched like a travel blogger a bunch. Like that seems like pretty cool and interesting. Sorry. Here, when I was home for winter break, I was on the bus and there were these 2 Korean people. I mean, I don't know if they were Korean anyways, they're speaking Korean. And I was like too scared to say anything. And I kind of regret that, because I never would have seen them again, whether I said something or not. And it could have been kind of fun, kind of interesting. I don't know. It happens. I went to the dry cleaners. I kind of spoke to them in Korean. I was really nervous about that, but they were super chill. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I wrote, definitely do feel like I'm making slow progress though. So basically like, I definitely feel like my comprehension is like slowly getting better. Like it's already pretty good. And there's just like, there's a lot of words to learn, but I feel like I'm like, I feel like I'm doing the most active immersion I ever have done. And it feels particularly valuable now. And I think I talked about this in the very first video, here. Where's the graph? Again, I think we're past this point, and I think we're like here. And basically, anyways, I talk about how like, you can kind of ramp up the immersion once it becomes more valuable. I mean, it's always like kind of equally valuable probably, but I think it feels particularly valuable right now. And I do feel like I'm making solid progress. Like I feel like my understanding of shows is high, and it feels like it's getting higher the more I do this. And it does feel like if I can stick to like, an hour to 2 hours of active immersion per day over the next 3 to 4 months, it looks pretty good for me to hit this, where is it? level up. Level 5 in slice of life shows. And, I think that one big barrier there is subtitles. Like right now, I'm watching all with subtitles. This is Korean subtitles. And definitely I think my listening is a bit behind. The reason I haven't really focused on listening right now is because I find it extremely hard to learn new words just through listening to them. Like when I'm like talking with people and they like say a word that I haven't heard before, like the first thing I do is ask them to like write it down because it's like I don't even know how you're supposed to like learn a word without like knowing how to like write it or look it up in the dictionary. Anyways, so I feel like I very, very hard time learning through audio alone. So my plan is to just kind of really get the comprehension going and then start in the next like, kind of like slowly moving away from subtitles. But yeah, it is looking good. Something I also did this month was I turned off word highlighting from Migaku. So what that looks like is like, where is it? Display options. Oh, here. So, you can mark words as like known or learning or unknown. The reason this is valuable in Migaku is because like if there's a one target sentence, Migaku knows which is first of all, it can highlight one target sentences, but it also like when there's a sentence you want to make an Anki card for, it knows which word is the unknown word. So it knows which word to like look up a picture for, generate audio for, create the definition for. But because I'm not really using Migaku to create Anki cards, I kind of found it just a little distracting. And so I'm no longer doing that. The final thing I wanted to talk about is that I feel quite comfortable handling the comprehension side of quite reasonable conversation. So I've been doing a lot more Hello Talk recently, and on Hello Talk, basically most of my friends, like they all like speak in Korean and I'm speaking in English, like texting, and I definitely feel like I'm able to have a much deeper depth of conversation with them now than I was when I was on Hello Talk previously around a year ago. Like we can have like in real time conversation with them speaking Korean, and I only need to look something up like occasionally, or if they say something kind of outside my domain. But it feels like comfortable. Like I can comfortably have a conversation with them. Again, just on the comprehension side, not on the output side. And also in person too. So there's like a Korean language exchange club at my school, and I have a friend, and I like ask her when we talk just for her to speak to me in Korean. I speak in English. And again, that feels pretty comfortable as well. It's a little bit harder, obviously, with just listening. But yeah, so things are looking good. Looking forward to next month. Again, hopefully we can get that kind of daily active immersion average above 1 hour, and just kind of continue everything else I'm working on. So thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment. I read them all. And I hope everyone has an amazing February, and I'll see you next month. Bye-bye.